Hello and welcome to this third and final first look exploring session at the Castle of Perseverance, medieval morality play from around 1400, which we have spent 2 sessions sauntering through, as it were, getting the first lay of the land. It's always quite difficult working on a text that is this early, because there's a question of dealing with language which is quite obscure for us today, and also trying to decide what our editorial protocols are in terms of approaching it for the first time. So we're really just sort of getting a sense of how it all works, a sense of the flow of it all, without necessarily going into too much detail, and hopefully getting a sense of how it all flows and how it all goes together. The story so far has been very, very a mixture of big speechifying and also some big battle things have gone on. We've had some exciting times in the Castle of Perseverance, where mankind is currently hauled up and hiding away, while the 7 virtues take on the 7 deadly sins. We've gone through 6 grudge matches now between the virtues and the vices, and we have 1 more to come, which is coming up next. And to explore this final chunk of the text, we have a reading Avaricia, Covetous, and Pater, God is.
Hi, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
And reading Castitas and Garcio, so that's Chastity and a Boy is.
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian in London.
And being all of humanity, at least while still alive, is.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
Reading The Good Angel today, being terribly good, will be.
Hi, I'm Eric, and I left my wings in my other t-shirt.
Travelling Light. And reading The Bad Angel today is.
Briony, actor in Lincolnshire.
And reading Caritas and the charity, and Anima, the soul of mankind after mankind has snuffed it, is.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in Romford.
Reading Solicitudo and Justicia today is.
Rachael Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
Reading Abstinencia and Veritas today is.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm a college writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
And reading Paciencia and Pax today is.
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
And reading Mundus, Humilitas and Misericordia today is.
Lois, retired academic in London.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Largitas very briefly, and also Moore's Death, because I always read death. So on that note, we are going to move into some text. So where did we leave off? We had the fight between the first 6 vices and virtues. The sins have been beaten back, and they have failed to get into the Castle of Perseverance. And in despair, the bad angels called on the world, Mundus, to do something, and Mundus has called on Sir Covetize, the only sin left, to make his approach to mankind and see what possibly could be saved from this situation.
O mankind, I am attended, for thou art there, so in that hold. Come and speak with thy best friend, Sir Covetize. Thou knowest me of old. What devil shalt thou there longer lend? With great penance in that castle cold, into the world if thou wilt wend, among men to bear thee bold. I read by St. Giles, how mankind I thee say, come to Covetize, I thee pray, we two shall together play, if thou wilt a while.
Hey God, help, I am dismayed. I curse thee, covetous as I can. For certes, traitor, thou hast betrayed near hand now each earthly man. So much were men never afraid. With covetous sin the world began. God Almighty is not paid. Sin thou, fiend, bear the world's bane, full wide thou ginnest wend. Now are men waxen near wood, they would gone to hell for world's good. That Lord that rested on the rood is maker of an end. There is no disease nor debate through this world wide so round, tide nor time early nor late, but that covetous is the ground. Thou nourishest hate, envy, pride, envy, and hate. Thou covetous, thou cursed hound, Christ thee shield fro our gate, and keep us fro thee safe and sound, that thou no good here win. Sweet Jesu, gentle justice, keep mankind fro covetous, for ewis he is in all wise rote of sorrow and sin.
What aileth thee, Lady Largiety, damsel digne upon thy death? And I spake right not to thee. Therefore, I pray thee, hold thy peace. How, mankind? Come speak with me. Come lay thy love here in my less. Covetise is a friend right to thee. Thy sorrow, man, to slake and cease. Covetise hath many a gift. Mankind, thine hand hither thou reach. Covetise shall be thy lech. The right way I shall thee teach, to theedom and to thrift.
Covetise, whither should I wend? What way wouldest that I should hold? To what place wouldest thou me send? I gin to waxen hoary and old. My back ginneth to bow and bend. I crawl and creep and wax all cold. Age maketh man full unthend. Body and bones and all unwold. My bones are feeble and sore. I am arrayed in a slop. As a young man I may not hop. My nose is cold and ginneth to drop. Mine hair waxeth all hoar.
Peter, thou hast the more need to have some good in thine age. Marks, pounds, lands, and leader, houses and homes, castles and cage. Therefore do as I thee read. To covetise cast thy parage. Come, and I shall thine heirdin bead. The worthy world shall give thee wage. Certes not a leaf. Come on, old man, it is no reprieve that covetise be thy lief. If thou die at any mischief, it is thyself to with.
Nay, nay, these ladies of goodness will not let me fare amiss. And though I be a while in distress, when I die, I shall to bliss. It is but folly, as I guess, all this world's well, ewis. These lovely ladies, more and less, in wise words they tell me this. Thus saith the Book of Kens. I will not do these ladies despite, to forsaken him for so light. To dwell in here is my delight. Here are my best friends.
Yea, up and down thou take the way through this world to walken and wend, and thou shalt find, sooth to say, thy purse shall be thy best friend. Though thou sit all day and pray, no man shall come to thee nor send. But if thou have a penny to pay, men shall to thee then listen and lend, and Helen all thy care. Therefore to me thou hang and held, and be covetous whilst thou may thee wield. If thou be poor and needy in eld, thou shalt often evil fare.
Covetise, thou sayest a good skill. So great God, be avance, all thy bidding done, I will. I forsake the castle of perseverance. In covetise I will me hill, for to get some sustenance. Afore meal men meat shall till. It is good for all chance, some good where to hide. Certes this ye well know, it is good, howso the wind blow, a man to have somewhat of his own, what hap soever betide.
Ah, ladies, I pray you of grace, helpeth to keep here mankind, that he will forsake this precious place and drawing them to deadly sin. Help, ladies, lovely in lace, he goeth fro this worldly wanting. Covetize away ye chase, and shutteth mankind somewhere herein in your worthy wise. Wretched man, thou shalt be wroth, that sin shall be thee full loath. Ah, sweet ladies, help he goeth away with covetize.
And indeed mankind descends from the castle to Avaricia.
Good angel, what may I do thereto? Himself may his soul still, mankind to don what he will do. God hath given him a free will. Though he drench and his soul slow, certes we may not do their till. Sin he came to this castle to, we did to him that us befell, and now he hath us refused. As long as he was within this castle wall, we kept him from sin, ye saw well all. And now he will again to sin fall. I pray you, hold us excused.
Reason will excuse us all. He held the axe by the half. Though he will to folly fall, it is to witten but himself. While he held him in his hall, for deadly sin we did him shelve. He breweth himself a bitter gall, in death's dint when he shall delve. This game he shall begreet, he is endued with wits 5, for to rule on him in his life. We virtues will not with him strive, evase him and his deed.
Of his deed have we nought to done. He will no longer with us be led. When he asked out, we heard his bone, and of his presence we were right glad. But, as thou sayest, he hath forsaken us, son. He will not do as Christ him bade. Mary, thy son above in the moan, as make mankind true and sad. In grace for to gone, for if he will to folly flit, we may him not withsit. He is of age and can his wit. Ye know well, everyone.
If one ye known he is a fool in covetize to dit his deed, world's well is like a 3-footed stool. It faileth the man at his most need. Mundus transit et concupiscentia ejus. When he dieth in deed dole, the right register I shall him read. He shall be tore with 10-fold toll, when he shall bren on Glem's gleed. He shall lear a new law. Be he never so rich of worlds won, his secretores shall maken her moan. Make us merry and let him be gone. He was a good fellow.
When he is dead, her sorrow is least. The one skeletor saith to the other, make we merry and a rich feast, and let him Lynn in deeds fodder. Et sic relinquent alienis divicia suas. So his part shall be the least. The sister serveth thus the brother. I let a man no better than a beast, for no man can be war by other, till he hath all full spun. Thou shalt see that day, man, that a bead shall stand thee more instead than all the good thou mightest get, certes under sun.
Mankind, of on thing have I wonder, that thou takest not into thine mend, when body and soul shall parten on sunder. No world's good shall with thee wend, non discendet cum illo gloria aegis. When thou art dead and in the earth laid under, misgotten good thee shall shend. It shall thee weigh in as pace in punder, thy seely soul to bring in bend, and make it full unthend. And yet mankind, as it is seen, with covetous goth on this green, The traitor doth us all this ten after his lives' end.
Out, I cry, and nothing low on Covetise, as I well may. Mankind saith he hath never enow, till his mouth be full of clay. Avaricinum quae quadriplit spit pencunia, when he is closed in death's dow, what help it riches or great array? It flighted away as any snow, anon after thy ending day to wild worlds wise. Now, good men all that here be, have my sisters excused and me. Thou, mankind, fro this castle flee, white it Covetise.
Yea, go forth and let the queens cackle. There women are many words. Let him gone hoppen with her hackle. There ges sitten are many turds. With Covetise thou run on Rachael, and hang thine heart upon his hoards. Thou shalt be shaken in mine shackle. Unbind thy bags on his boards, on his benches above. Pardie, thou ghost out of mankind, but Covetise be in thy mend. If ever thou think to be vend, on him thou lay thy love.
Needs my love must on him lend, with Covetise to walter and wave. I know none of all my kind that he ne coveteth for to have. Pennyman is mickle in mind, my love in him I lay and lave. Where that ever I walk or wend, in well and woo he will me have. He is great of grace. Whereso I walk in land or lead, Pennyman best may speed. He is a duke to done a deed, now in every place.
Alas, that ever mankind was born, on Covetise is all his lust. Night and day, midnight and morn, and Pennyman is all his trust. Covetise shall maken him lorn when he is dolven all to dust. To mickle shame he shall be shorn, with foul friends to rotten and rust. Alas, what shall I do? Alas, alas, so may I say. Man goth with Covetise away. Have me excused, for I name may truly not do thereto.
This game goeth as I would. Mankind will never the world forsake. Till he be dead and under mould, wholly to me he will him take. To Covetise he hath him yold, with my well he will awake. For £1,000 I knolled, but Covetise were man's make, certes on every wise. All these games he shall bewail, for I the world am of this entail. In his most need I shall him fail, and all for Covetise.
Now, mankind, beware of this. Thou art a party well in age. I would not thou fardest amiss. Go we now know my castle cage. In this bower I shall see thee bliss. Worldly well shall be thy wage. More muck than is thine, I wis. Take thou in this trust terrage, and look that thou do wrong. Covetise, it is no sore, he will thee feffen full of store, and always, always say more and more, and that shall be thy song.
Ah, Covetise, have thou good grace. Certes thou bearest a true tongue. More and more in many a place, certes that song is often sung. I wis never man by bankers base so sane in clay till he were clong. Ino, had never space, that full song was never sung. Nor I will not begin. Good Covetise, I thee pray that I might with thee play. Give me good enough, or that I die in one to worldes win.
Have here, mankind, 1,000 mark. I, Covetise, have thee this got. Thou mayst purchase therewith both pond and park, and do therewith mickle note. Lean no man hereof, for no cark, though he should hang by the throat. Monk nor friar, priest nor clerk, nay help therewith church nor coat, till death thy body delve. Though he should starve in a cave, let no poor man thereof have. In green grass till thou be grave, keep somewhat for thyself.
I vow to God, it is great husbandry. Of thee I take these nobles round. I shall me repine, and that in high, to hide this gold under the ground. There shall it lie till that I die. It may be kept there safe and sound. Though my neighbour should be hanging high, thereof getteth he neither penny nor pound. Yet am I not well at ease. Now would I have castle walls, strong steeds and stiff in stalls, with hay-holts and hay-halls, covertise, thou must me seize.
All shalt thou have already low, at thine own disposition. All this good take thee to, cliff and coast, tower and town. Thus hast thou gotten in sinful slow of thy neighbours by extortion. More and more say yet, have do, till thou be dead and drepping down. Work on with world's wrenches, more and more say yet, I read, to more than enow thou hast need. All this world, both length and breed, thy covetise may not quench.
Quench never, no man may. Methinketh never I have enow. There nay is world's well night or day, but that methinketh it is too slow. More and more, yet I say, and shall ever while I may blow. On covetise is all my lay, and shall to death me overthrow. More and more, this is my Stephen. If I might always dwell in prosperity, Lord God, then well were me. I would not the meads forsake thee, and never to common in heaven.
And there we will pause, possibly in a fairly artificial way. Avarice, covetous has really got mankind. Burying gold in the ground. I don't know whether this refers to meaningfully this, but on the stage map we have got a note on either side of the tower. There is a bit of writing saying "Covetous cupboard by the bed's feet shall be at the end of the castle." So I'm wondering if there is a specific point here that you haven't, though you're outside of the castle, you may not be that far away from the castle. Even though he did talk about taking you, because Avarice does have a scaffold of his own in the northeast of the arena, so it might be you've gone there. So I'm actually slightly unclear as to where precisely you are supposed to be situated at this point in terms of what the stage map is trying to tell us about what is going on here. There are various reasons why I'm confused, which will become clearer further on. How are we feeling about Avarice's approach? You know, there wasn't any thunder and lightning here, was there? Covetous used the most clever trap of all. Used logic or similar. There was no thunder and smoke or smoke coming out of Satan's arse or anything here. There's no flowers or fighting. Thoughts from the room. How convinced were you, Sarah? You obviously were convinced, but were you convinced?
No, I wasn't actually. Because his first two speeches, he's like, nope, I'm getting old. I'm doing what I should be doing. I'm sticking with these sisters because they're going to sort me out. My soul's going to go to heaven. I'm good. Thank you. And he seemed fairly sort of certain. You know, he had drawn his boundaries and he was staying in that castle. And then it was literally just one speech. Like, Covetise had one speech, and then he was like, oh yeah. And he was basically saying, oh, you know, you don't want to be poor in your old age. And that was that was what did it. And he was like, oh no. So it seemed to be a bit of a quick turnaround, really.
Well, I was wondering whether there was a similarity to the sort of staff of penance or whatever we had in the last session that sort of turned him to the good side suddenly. Because it's like Avaricia says, hi mankind, there's a shortish speech. And then Generosity, Largitas, who I was reading, just immediately goes, oh no, we've lost. It's like Generosity just gives up. Generosity always gives way to greed. Is that sort of, and covetous? Is that the logic? So it feels like maybe there's a similar action or something happens there, because then you are turned around almost immediately. And I wonder whether there's an action that we're missing that makes that transition not feel so sudden and random. Lois, currently muted. And then we'll go to Eric and Lynn.
Yeah, I think actually it's a very convincing argument for almost any place that doesn't have a health service. I mean, it really is terrifying, the prospect of old age and all the expenses that one could have. Also, though, it's sort of psychologically relevant. I mean, I remember reading, I think it's Iris Murdoch on this subject, how you can rationalize yourself into thinking you're going to take one course of action, and then when the time comes, you take another, but it's because your whole life up till then has actually prepared you to do that, rather than because you've talked yourself into it. I mean, the beginning of her novel, The Bell, has this woman on a train, I think, thinking, I'm tired and I'm not going to get up and give my seat to this woman. And then the next thing you get is, would you like my seat, said Dora. And it's just because she's basically a nice woman and just can't not do it.
Eric?
I was just going to say it's about as, how do you call it? It's about as convincing as like the argument we had last night with Adam and Eve, where it's like, yeah, she made me do it. Kind of that kind of element. Obviously, in this case, it might be a bit more persuasive because there is an actual argument rather than, hey, taste the apple. And yeah.
Yeah, I think there is an argument. I think it is just that sense of what's going on in the theatre might make it flow better, rather than there isn't a back and forth to this argument. It's like the argument is presented and then it is accepted, and it's accepted pretty quickly. Rather than that there is a tussle. Did we have earlier in this play, or was it a different play? I might be blowing plays together, where they were basically saying avariciousness is something that comes with age, and we've already had an indication in this play that Humanum Genus might be older now. That in between the last time we saw him, he's dipped off and put a beard on, and actually throughout the course of this play, this figure is actually physically aging. And that might be signified as well on stage. So there might be other things going on here that we can elicit from the text. Lynn, then Francis, then Rachael.
Yeah, I was reminded of the moment that struck me in the first sentence, where the turnaround from being good to being bad seemed the other way around, where I came on with my my surgeon's lance and said, I'll stick you. And he's like, oh, I'll be good. And then the turn back to sinfulness was equally sudden. And I think it was Helen who said, that's morality plays. That's the way they work. So, yeah, that's the way they work. But actually, the moment that struck me was quite early in this section, where Largitas, or generosity, characterizes covetousness as basically the original sin. Do others remember that, where the covetousness brought the world to sin, not disobedience, not whatever, however else that is figured in Christian mythology. Covetousness is the original sin, and I think I'm very interested in the way different literary texts hierarchize sin. In some, it's pride. In some, it's covetousness. In some, it's deceptiveness. In Dante, it's the traitors who are at the bottom of hell. But here, greed. So I just find that interesting.
Yeah, because we do have figured in various mystery plays, especially when it comes to the fall of man, that original sin is being very much driven by pride, maybe pride via Satan, because of course you start with the Satan's fall, which is generally pride driven. So there's all sorts of possibilities there. Francis, Rachael, then Sarah.
What struck me was that Caritas uses this argument, you don't want to be poor in your old age, mate. But then hands over this money and says, and doesn't say use it to buy the things that make old age, pleasant and bearable. Yeah, but by land, by pond and park, and where are we? Cliff and coast, tower and town. It's just interesting.
Suddenly lots of additional hands going up. If you're going to that point, I'll go to Helen, then Lois very briefly before I go to Rachael.
Yes, I think you've got to realise that this play is from a time before insurance policies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, in fact, the possession of real estate was probably as good as it got for investment of money.
Right, yeah.
Lois.
There were no banks available to this sort of person.
Yeah.
Well, there's that refrain that goes through more and more. I mean, I think the idea is that once you've got money, you want more money and then more money and so on.
How much is enough?
Well, exactly. Rachael, then Sarah, and then we will move on.
I was just gonna say, if he's older now, maybe it's supposed to be like different sins are supposed to get you at different ages, because he was pretty down with like lust and sloth when he was very young, and the rest of them, I don't know.
No, no, that I think really works, and that creates a nice internal logic to what's going on, and because we have 3 sins associated with one scaffold, 3 with another, so there might be an ages of age thing going on there. So yeah, I really like that. That's something actually to dig into a future point. Sarah.
Yeah, that would actually explain why covetise is the number 1 sin if it's tied to his age. But what I was actually gonna say, that actually kind of negates what I was about to say, because I think that's a really good theory. But picking up on Lynn's point about covetise being the number 1 sin, I wonder if that's to do with politics. The fact that covetise has replaced pride as sort of top sin. Because I mean, we had revolting peasants, didn't we? Like a couple of decades before this, and there's maybe a sort of sense that coveting, wanting more, coveting, more money, more land, more power, whatever, is maybe something that you actually need to damp down in the populace. So maybe that's why it's been promoted to top sin. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Lois.
Yeah, and a more cynical way of putting that would be that this is probably written by a clergyman who thinks that the common people are not giving enough to the church, and that they should be, leaving their wealth to the church, and that the government shouldn't be taking money away from the church. I mean, that this is all about, from his point of view, about greed.
And on that note, we'll go to the other major life issue at the time, death. So I will make Humanum Genus's day. Oh, now it is time high to cast mankind to death's dint. In all his works he is unsly, mickle of his life he hath misspent. To mankind I nigh, with ruly raps he shall be rent. When I come each man dread forth but yet is there no gain went. High hill no halt ne health, ye shall me dread every one. When I come ye shall groan, my name in land is left alone. I hat dreary death. Dreary day is my death draweth, against me may no man stand. I dirk and down bring to north lords and ladies in every land. Whomso I have a lesson taught, anything sithen shall he most stand. In my careful clothes he shall be caught, rich, poor, free and bond. When I come they go no more, whereso I wend in any lead. Every man of me hat dread, let I will for no meed to smite sad and sore. Stingy dukes are adread when my blasts are on him blow. Lords in lands are overled with his lance, I lay him low. Kings keen and knights kid, I do him delven in a throw. In bank I busk him a bed, sad sorrow to him I sow. I teen him as I trow, as ken colts thou they kins, against me is no defence. In the great pestilence, then was I well know. But now almost I am forget, men of death hold no tale. In Cavities here good they get, the great fishes eat the small. But when I deal my dern dart, thou proud men I shall avail. Them shall helpen neither male nor mate, till they be drawen to death's dale. My law they shall learn. There ne is penny nor pound that any of you shall save sound, till ye be graven underground, there may no man me warn. To mankind now will I reach. He hath whole his heart on Cavities. A new lesson I will him teach, that he shall both grouchen and grise. No life in land shall be his leech. I shall him prove of mine emprise. With this point I shall him broach, and rappen him in woeful wise. Nobody shall be his boat. I shall thee sharpen a shameful shape. Now I kill thee with my nap. I reach to thee, mankind, a rap to thine heart root.
Ah, death, death! Dry is thy drift. Dead is my destiny. Mine head is cleaven all in a cleft. For clap of care now I cry. Mine eyelids may I not lift? Mine brains waxen all empty. I may not once mine head upshift. With death's dint now I die. So world, I am hent. World, world, have me in mind. Good Sir World, help now mankind. But thou me help, death shall me shent. He hath died me to a dint. Oh world, my wit wax it wrong. I change both hide and hue, mine eyelids waxen all out wrong. But thou help me, sore it shall me rue. Thou hold that thou hast behate me long, for all fellowships old and new. Less me of my pain is strong. Some boat of bale thou me brew, that I may of thee yelp. World, for old acquaintance, help me from this sorry chance. Death hath lurched me with his lance. I die, but thou me help.
Oh, mankind, hath death with thee spoke? Against him helpeth no wage. I would thou wert in the earth below, and another had thine heritage. Our bound of love shall soon be broke, in cold clay shall be thy cage. Now shall the world on thee be wroke, for thou hast done so great outrage. Thy good thou shalt forego, world's good thou hast forgone, and with tauters thou shalt be torn. Thus have I served it here before 100,000 more.
Oh, world, world, ever worth woe, and thou, sinful Cavities, when that a man shall from you go, ye work with him on a wonder wise. The wit of this world is sorrow and woe. Beware, good men, of this guise. Thus hath he served many on moe, in sorrow slaketh all his assize. He beareth a taining tongue. While I laid with him my lot, ye sayn how fair he me behot, and now he would I were a clot in cold clay for to cling.
Oh, boy, arise. Now thou must wend on mine Erden by step and stall. Go brew mankind a bitter bend, and put him out of his hall. Let him therein no longer lend. For Broston, I trow, by his gall, for thou art not of his kend, all his heritage will thee well befall. Thus fareth mine fair fares. Oftentime I have you told, though men that ye are to lest behold, commonly shall your woning wold, and by your next heirs.
World worthy in weeds wound, I thank thee for thy great gift. I go glad upon this ground to put mankind out of his thrift. I trow he stinketh this ichor stound. Into a lake I shall him lift, his parks, places, and pens round, with me shall driven in this drift, in bags as they be bound. For I think for to deal, I vow to God neither corn nor meal. If he have a sheet, he burieth him well, wherein he may be wound. Who farest, mankind? Art thou dead? By God's body, so I ween, he is heavier than any lead. I would he were graven under green.
Abide! I braid up with mine head. What art thou? What wouldest thou mean? Whither comest thou, for good or qued? With painous prick thou dost me teen, thee sooth for to say. Tell me now, so God thee save, from whom comest thou, good knave? What dost thou here? What wouldest thou have? Tell me, ere I die.
I am come to have all that thou hast, ponds, parks, and every place, all that thou hast gotten, first and last. The world hath granted it me of his grace, for I have been his page. He wot well thou shalt be dead, never more to eat bread. Therefore he hath for thee read, who shall have thine heritage.
What devil! Thou art not of my kin. Thou didst me never no manner good. I had liefer some nefter, or some cousin, or some man had it of my blood. In some stead I would it stood. Now shall I in a dale by delve, and have no good thereof myself. By God and by his apostles 12, I trow the world be wood.
Yea, thy part shall be the least. Die on, for I am master here. I shall thee maken a noble feast, and then have I do mine devere. The world bade me this gold arrest, holt and halls and castle clear. The world's joy and his gentle jest is now thine, now mine, both fear and near. Go hence, for this is mine, since thou art dead and brought of door. Of thy death, sir, I am right for. Though thou know not the world's law, he hath gave me all that was thine.
I pray thee now, sin thou this good shalt get, tell thy name, or that I go.
Look that thou it not forget. My name is I wot never who.
I wot never who? So well away! Now am I sorry of my life. I have purchased many a day lands and rents with mickle strife. I have purchased holt and hay, parks and ponds and bowers blithe, good gardens with griffes gay, to mine childer and to mine wife in death, when I would die. Of my purchase I may be woe, for, as I thought, it is not so. But a gadling I wot never who hath all that the world me behive. Now, alas, my life is lack. Bitter bales I gin to brew. Certes, a verse that David spake in the Psalter, I find it true. Thesaurisat et ignoret quia congregabit ea. Treasure, treasure, it hath no take. It is other men's, old and new. Oh, my good goeth all to rake. Sore may mankind rue, God keep me from despair. All my good, without fail, I have gathered with great travail. The world hath ordained of his entail I wot never who to be mine heir. Now, good men, taketh example at me. Do for yourself while ye han space, for many men thus served be through the world in diverse place. I bold and blake and bloody blee, and as a flower fadeth my face. To hell I shall both fare and flee, but God me grant of his grace I die certainly. Now my life I have law, mine heart breaketh, a sigh sore. A word may I speak, no more. I put me in God's mercy.
And we can infer at this point that mankind dies. And it may be that he dies in the bed that is arranged underneath the castle. Because in a moment, that's where his soul's going to come up. So, mankind, you get to lie down for the rest of the play, presumably still inside. We're assuming that he's a separate role, and it's not just that you go, "Whoa, I am a ghost now," and things like that. There's so much good stuff in this. I want to. It's just I love the fact that basically the next generation turns up and says, "Hey, I've been told by the world I can have all your stuff. It's great." And it's just that sort of insult of injury, you know. Who are you? Well, I'm anyone, basically. I'm some guy. Does it matter? Does it matter who it is? And yeah, it's sort of it's a really dark as well as funny sequence that I really enjoyed. In a way that I haven't been in. The kind of enjoyment that I'm getting from this is very different from the pitch battles and the stuff we've been getting on. It's doing a very different job of work. I'm finding it's a lot more dark. I like that. Thoughts from the room. I'll go to Elizabeth first, then Lois.
Yes, Rob, it's just a quick one to echo your sentiment. I'm really enjoying this play. I think it's much easier for the listener, for the viewer, than it is for the actor, because Sarah had a line, it was, "I bold and bleak in bloody blee." And I wanted to give her a round of applause when she said it, because it was such a tongue twister. But I think it's like, this play was designed for listening ears, and it's really captivating if you listen to it. I could almost hear it as like an audio book, an audio play. I think it's very strong in terms of listenability, but I think it's actually quite hard for the actors to say some of the lines. Yeah, that was all I had to say.
Yeah, it is one where you need to really tune into and need to workshop and do some lots of work to get the actors to enjoy and flow that with that text, as well as also figuring out how precisely to say some of the words. Some of the modernization has slightly damaged some of the lines, some of the flow. So it's a really interesting problem, a technical problem with the earlier material, is actually how far you change it and how much you keep it the same and how clear you can make it. Lois, muted at present.
I thought I had unmuted. Gosh, you'd think that he should know where his money's going if he's made a will, but I think the point might well be that you never really know. Even if it's going to the people you think that it's going to be scattered everywhere. And it reminds me very much of one of Bacon's essays. Actually, I think it might be the one on riches, but I'm not sure. Where he says, "Defer not charity till death. For if you weigh it rightly, he that doth so is liberal of another man's goods rather than his own."
And yeah, it's that sense of a loop. That's what I like about it, is that this figure who turns up, I'd really like him to look remarkably like mankind did at the beginning of the play. It's basically literally his younger self is turning up and continuing this circle of here's some stuff. Isn't stuff great? I'll keep that for me forever, won't I? Yes, I will. Yes, no, you won't. No, you won't. And just a thing on the dating element of it, it's dated to around 1400, and one of the relatively firm points on that is when Death turns up and says, I was here with I was here for the great pestilence, but now everyone's forgotten it. So, the great, well, to a degree. So, the Black Death turned up about 50 years earlier than this. So, and does get the odd name check in some medieval drama. So it's quite nice that Death turns up and goes, hey, you remember that terrible plague we had? People have just got so laissez-faire about it all, which is something I'm looking forward to in a few years' time. Even the Black Death eventually sort of peaked a bit, even though it did keep coming back with a vengeance. Anyway, yeah. So that's I just love Death. It's so great. You can't write bad dialogue for Death. You can write too much dialogue for Death, but you can't write bad dialogue for Death. Rachael.
No, I think Garcio is kind of funny just because he's a little bit of a shit.
Totally.
Mm. Oh yeah. Alan.
Must be like the idea of Garcio actually being played by the same actor who played Mankind at the beginning would actually make a lot of sense, because obviously a considerable period of time is deemed to have passed. A cynic like me would probably suggest, well, living the virtues will age you probably at an unnaturally fast rate. And he's had quite a period of absence from the stage, roughly, because scarcely appeared yesterday at all in the piece. So it's had a long period of time for someone to do a costume change, or in fact a change of actor.
Yeah, I quite like that. And of course, we don't know. There might have been reasonably extensive use of mask or similar. I mean, we can expect that perhaps for Satan at least, and maybe for God later on, that masks will be employed. We know that does happen with mystery plays. So yeah, I really actually that's a really nice idea that if you swap actors through the play and it's literally like his earlier version of himself turns up, that would be. That it might be confusing, but it might also work, and it's a nice possibility. We need to move on. Mankind has ended up in the special bed place underneath the castle, probably, we think. And Mankind's soul, Anima, so we can again assume that it's probably a different actor, but it may not be, and that Mankind's just lying there. We don't have a stage direction. We have an inferred stage direction in our text, and we're about to have a text break. We're about to lose a page, which I will mention when we get to it. But anyway, Mankind's soul steps up.
Mercy, this was my last tale that ever my body was about. But mercy help me in this vale of damning drink, sore I me of doubt. Body, thou didst brew a bitter bale to thy lusts when ganest lout. Thy seely soul shall be a kale. I be thy deeds with ruly rout, and all it is for guile. Ever though thou hast by covetous falsely to getten land and house, to me thou hast brown a bitter jowls, so well away the while. Now, sweet angel, what is thy rede? The right rede thou me reach. Now my body is dressed to dead. Help now me and be my leech. Thus thou me throw devil's dread. Thy worthy way thou me teach. I hope that God will helpen and be mine head. For mercy was my last speech. Thus made my body his end.
And there's a text break. He's calling to angels. We can assume that there is some sort of response, and it's a good call out here. The last word that Mankind said when alive was mercy. Some dialogue is going on. Bad angel, we can infer, is who's speaking next.
Witness of all that be about, Sir Covetise, he had him out. Therefore he shall, withouten doubt, with me to help it.
Yea, alas, and well, woe, against Covetise can I not tell. Reason will I for thee go, for wretched soul thou must to hell. Covetize, he was thy foe, he hath thee shapen a shameful shell. Thus hath he served many on moe, till they be dieth to death still. To bitter bale's bower, thou must to pain by right reason with covetize, for he is cheason. Thou art trapped full of treason, but mercy be thy succor. For right well this found I have, against right wiseness may I not hold, for thou must with him the great careful cave, for great skills that he hath told. Throw thee away I wonder and wave, for thee I cling in care's cold. Alone now I thee lave, whilst thou fallest in fiend's fold, in hell to hide and hill. Right wiseness will that thou wend forth away with the fiend, but mercy will to thee send, of thee I can no skill.
Alas, mercy, thou art too long. Of sad sorrow now may I sing. Holy writ, it is full wrong. But mercy pass all things. I am ordained to pain strong. In woe is dressed mine wanning. In hell on hooks I shall hong. But mercy throw a wellspring. This devil will have me away. Well away! I was full wood that I forsook mine angel good, and with covetize stood, till that day that I should die.
Yea, why wouldst thou be covetous, and draw thee again to sin? I shall thee brew a bitter juice, in bolning bonds that shalt brenn. In high hell shall be thine house, in pike and ter to groan and gren. Thou shalt lie, drenkeled as a mouse. There may no man there throw thee wern, for that ilk will. That day the ladies thou forsook, and to my counsel thou thee took. Thou were better an hangen on hook upon a gibbet hill. Farther foul thou shalt be frayed, till thou be fretted and all forbled. Foul mote thou be dismayed, that thou shalt thus be overled. For covetize thou hast assayed, in bitter bales thou shalt be bred. All mankind may be well paid, how covetize maketh thee adread. With raps I thee ring, we shall to hell both two, and by in inferno nulla est redemptio. For no kin's thing, now dag we hence a dog trot, in my dungeon I shall thee dear, on thee is many a sinful spot. Therefore this shame I shall thee share, when thou comest to my nest. Why wouldest thou, shrew shalt never they, but in thy live done after me, and thy good angel taught thee alway to the best. Yea, but thou wouldest him not leave, to covetize alway thou drow. Therefore shalt thou evil prove, that foul sin thy soul slow. I shall fond thee to grieve, and put thee in pain's plough. Have this, and evil mote thou sheave, for thou saidst never enow. Thus lachi I thee thus low, though thou queue as a cat, for thy covetize have thou that. I shall thee bunch with my bat, and rouge thee on a row. Lo, sinful tiding, boy, on thy back I bring, speedily thou spring. Thy placebo I shall sing, to devil's dell I shall thee bear to hell. I will not dwell, have good day, I go to hell.
And the bad angel, having great pride in their work, presumably drags the soul down to hell. Good angel does nothing there to stop that from happening, really. Just sort of going, a bad angel, the text we've got, he's going to go with me to hell pit, and the good angel goes, yeah, looks like he is, actually. Mercy might be able to help. We might do a last-minute appeal to Mercy, but, no promises. No promises. And yeah, bad angels looking forward to doing horrible things to humanity's soul. Briefly, any thoughts on the soul and the the bad angel there, and the good angel actually, for that matter. Briony, then Helen.
Just the really gleeful way that the bad angel points out, well, you know, you should have listened to that other guy that I was telling you not to listen to earlier. He would have steered you right, but you listened to me instead. Never mind.
Yeah, your mistake, mate. Your mistake. Helen.
Am I right in thinking that the bad angel and the sins know that they're bad and sins?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but in most fiction, not fiction, mostly the people that I think of as the bad guys actually see themselves as the good guys.
I don't think that's generally the convention here.
Not in this period.
No.
Not in this period. Yeah.
I mean, that would be, yeah, quite extreme. Did I see Lynn waving earlier? No. Okay, then I'll go to Alan, then Lois.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem that the baddies are self-aware that they are baddies, but they're also getting far, far better lines. I mean, the virtues and the good angel basically all seem to be constructed as very, very weak characters, very weak speeches. You know, we haven't had any rip-roaring speeches from any of the goodies.
There've been a few. I mean, not rip-roaring, but there've been some really nice ones about, you know, I think Lois had one of them earlier where it's basically talking about free will. He made his choice. What can we do? And actually, there's something really quite hard about that. And that's actually quite interesting to play. I think when people are talking about being good as opposed to ruining the fact that people make bad choices, does sometimes does work. But you're right. It's always more fun to play the baddies. It's always more fun to play the baddies. Lois.
Yeah, I think it's partly because of this reason versus passion thing. I mean, goodness is essentially rational, and evil is essentially emotional and passionate. So, of course, it's going to appeal more anyway. And the whole point of it is for it to be appealing, but they're assuming an audience which actually believes in good and evil, as opposed to thinking that evil is more fun. The thing I wanted to quote was just because Mercy is about to enter, and Mercy was man's last word, was that famous epitaph, and it's, I think, supposed to be in the churchyard in Aberdeen. Between the stirrup and the ground, I mercy asked, I mercy found. I mean, it's terribly important for people to call for mercy at the very end.
It's and yes, we're going into a legal battle now. As we go into our final unit of action. I'll go briefly to Eric before we do that, but we'll then move on.
I was just going to say that in the last, well, I mean, obviously I wasn't here for yesterday's session, but it just feels like Good Angel has been going mostly like, I give up. I don't know what to do anymore. You handle this, or sort of, you know, whatever. He seems to be very sort of, I don't know, quitting on it. I don't know. He doesn't try to convince humanity anymore. There's no, like, it's past the point of no return. There's no point of.
Well, definitely at this point, it's past the point of no return. Yes, you know, he's dead. But yeah, there is a certain slight standoffishness of going, look, you have to make that choice. We can't just turn up and all the time be standing there going, ding, do good things, because then what's the point of, you know, what's the point of having that differentiation between good and bad if we just make you do the good things? We go all Clockwork Orange on us. Anyway, we're going to go into the, shall we say, the legal case for man's soul. Who's going to get it? Is there a last-minute appeal? It's currently in hell by the looks of things. And we have Mercy. Mercy is dressed in white. Right wiseness, justice is in red. Truth, Veritas is in sad green, and peace is all in black. Apparently, according to the notes that come with this, and they're going to play in the place before they bring up the soul. According to that, which doesn't, I think, quite match what happens. But never mind, we shall see. So this unit of action, Misericordia, Mercy, please begin.
A moan I heard of mercy move, and to me mercy gan cry and call. But if it have mercy, sore it shall me grieve, for else it shall to hell fall. Right wiseness, my sister chieve, this ye heard. So did we all, for we were made friends leave when the Jews proffered Christ, Isel, and Gaul on the Good Friday. God granted that remission, mercy, and absolution through virtue of his passion. To no man should be said nay. Therefore, my sister rightwiseness, peace, and truth, to you I tell, when man crieth mercy and will not cease, mercy shall be his washing well. Witness of Holy Kirk, for the least drop of blood that God bled on the rood, it had been satisfaction good for all mankind's work.
Sister, ye say me a good skill, that mercy passeth man's misdeed. But take mercy whoso will, he must it ask with love and dread. And every man that will fulfill the deadly sins and foul misdeed, to grant him mercy methinketh no skill. And therefore, sister, you I read, let him abye his misdeed. For though he lie in hell and stink, it shall me never overthink, as he hath brown, let him drink. The devil shall quite him his meed. Unusquisque sum honis portabit. Trow ye that when a man shall die, then, though that he mercy crave, that anon he shall have mercy? Nay, nay, so Christ me save. Non omni qui dicit Domine, Domine, intrabit renum celorum. For should no man do no good all the days of his life, but hope of mercy by the rood, should make both war and strive, and torn to great grievance. Whoso in hope doth any deadly sin to his life's end, and will not blin, rightfully then shall he win Christ's great vengeance.
Right wiseness, my sister free, your judgment is good and true. In good faith so thinketh me. Let him his own deeds rue. I am Veritas, and true will be in word and work to old and new. Was never man in fault of me, damned nor saved, but it were due. I am ever at man's end. When body and soul part in a twin, then weigh I his good deeds and his sin. And whether of him be more or min, he shall it right soon find. For I am truth, and truth will bear, as great God himself us bid. Therefore shall nothing the soul dear, but sin that the body did. Sith that he died in that covetous sin, I truth will that he go to pine. Of that sin could not he blin. Therefore he shall his soul tine to the pit of hell. Else should we, both truth and right wiseness, be put to over mickle distress, and every man shall be the worse that thereof might here tell.
Peace, my sister Verity. I pray you, right wiseness, be still. Let no man by you damned be, nor deem ye no man to hell. He is on kin till us three, although he have now not all his will, or his love that died on tree. Let's save mankind for all peril, and shield him from mischance. If ye twain put him to distress, it should make great heaviness between us twain, mercy and peace, and that were great grievance. Right wiseness and truth do by my raid, and mercy go we to yon high place. We shall inform the high Godhead, and pray him to deem this case. Ye shall tell him your intent of truth and of right wiseness, and we shall praise that his judgment may pass by us, mercy and peace. All four now go we hence, witly to the Trinity, and there shall we soon see what this judgment shall be, withouten any defence.
And then they all go to the Father, who's on his platform, and they all basically go up there and visit God.
Hail, God Almighty, we come, thy daughters in faith, truth, mercy and right and peace, peaceable in faith.
We come to prove if man that was thee full leave, if he shall achieve to hell or heaven by thy leave.
I, right wiseness, thy daughter as I guess, let me nevertheless at thy doom put me in press.
Peaceable king, I, peace, thy daughter young, hear my praying when I pray thee, lord of a thing.
Welcome in fair, brighter than blossom on briar. My daughters dear, come forth and stand ye me near.
Lord, as thou art King of kings, crowned with crown, as thou lovest me, truth, thy daughter dear, let never me truth to fall adown, my faithful father, sans pair. Quaniam veritatem dilexisti, for in all truth standeth thy renown, thy faith, thy hope, and thy power. Let it be seen, Lord, now at thy doom, that I may have my true prayer to do truth to mankind. For if mankind be damned by right, and not by mercy, most of might, hear my truth, Lord, I thee plight. In prison man shall be pined. Lord, how should mankind be saved? Sin he died, in deadly sin, and all thy commandments he depraved, and of false covetize he would never blin. Aurum sististi, aurum bibisti. The more he had, the more he craved, while the life left him within, but he be damned, I am abated, and the truth should come of rightwise kin, and I am thy daughter, truth. Now, though he cried mercy, moriendo, nimis penitendo, talum mortem reprehendo, let him drink as he breweth. Let repentance, if man should save, whether he wrought well or wickedness, that every man would be bold to trespass in trust of forgiveness. For sin in hope is damned, I hold. Forgiven is never his trespass. He sinneth in the Holy Ghost manifold. That sin, Lord, thou wilt not release in this world nor in the t'other. Quia veritas manet in aeternum, tendit homo ad infernum, nunquam venit ad supernum. Though he were my brother, for man in mold hath wealth at well, lust and liking all his life, teaching, preaching in every cell, but he forgetteth the Lord, believe. High of heart, hap and hail, gold and silver, child and wife, dentist drink at meat and meal, unnetheth thee to thank he cannot kith in any manner thing. When man's wealth ginneth awake, full soon, Lord, thou art forsake. As he hath brown and bake, truth will that he drink. For if man have mercy and grace, then I, thy daughter, sooth fastness, at thy doom shall have no place, but be put aback by wrong duress. Lord, let me never flee thy fair face to make my power any less. I pray thee, Lord, as I have space, let mankind have due distress, in hellfire to be brent. In pain look he be still, Lord, if it be thy will, or else I have no skill by thy true judgment.
O Pater misericordiarum, et Deus tocius consolationis, qui consolator nos in omni tribulatione nostra. O thou Father of mights most, merciful God in Trinity, I am thy daughter, well thou wost, and mercy fro heaven thou broughtest free. Show me thy grace in every coast, in this case my comfort be. Let me, Lord, never be lost at thy judgment, howso it be of mankind. Nay, had man's sin never come in case, I, mercy, should never in earth had place. Therefore grant me, Lord, thy grace, that mankind may me find. And mercy, Lord, have on this man, after thy mercy that mickle is, unto thy grace that he be ta'en, of thy mercy that he not miss. As thou descendest fro thy throne, and light in a maiden's womb he wis, incarnate was in blood and bone, let mankind come to thy bliss, as thou art King of heaven. For worldly vainglory he hath been full sorry, punished in purgatory for all the sins 7. Si pro peccato vetus Adam non concedisset, mater pronato numquam gravidata fuissit. Nay, had Adam sinned here before, and thy hests in paradise had offend, never of thy mother thou shouldest have be bore, fro heaven to earth to have be sent. But 30 winter here and more, bounden and beaten and all to shend, scorned and scourged sad and sore, and on the rude, ruly rent. Passus sub Pont Pilato Pontio. As thou hanged on the cross, of high thou madest a voice, man's health the gospel says, when thou saidst, Scitio, scilicet salutem animarum. Then the Jews that were unquert dressed thee drink, eisel and gall, if to taste thou might not start, but said consummatum est, was all. A knight with a spear so smart, when thou forgave thy foeman thrall, he stung thee, Lord, unto the heart, then water and blood gan outwall. Aqua baptismatis et sanguis redemptionis. The water of baptism, the blood of redemption, that fro thy heart ran down, est causa salvationis. Lord, though that man hath done more miss than good, if he die in very contrition, Lord, the least drop of thy blood for his sin maketh satisfaction. As thou diedest, Lord, on the rood, grant me my petition. Let me, mercy, be his food, and grant him thy salvation. Quia dixisti, misericordia servabo. Mercy shall I sing and say, and miserere shall I pray for mankind ever and aye. Misericordias Domini in aeternum cantabo.
Right wise King, Lord God Almighty, I am thy daughter, right wiseness. Thou hast loved me ever, day and night, as well as other, as I guess. Justitias Dominus Justicia delexit. If thou man's kind fro pain acquite, thou dost against thine own process. Let him in prison to be pight for his sin and wickedness. Of a boon I thee pray. Full often he hath thee, Lord, forsake, and to the devil he hath him take. Let him lie in hell lake, damned forever and aye. Quia diem, quia si genuit, dereliquit. For when man to the world was born, he was brought to her holy kirk, faithfully followed in the font stone, and washed fro original sin so dark. Satanas he forsook as his phone, all his pomp and all his work, and height to serve thee alone. To keep thy commandments he should not irk. Sicut justi tui. But when he was come to man's estate, all his behests he then forgate. He is worthy damned for that. Qui oblitus est Domini creatoris sui. For he hath forgotten thee that him wrought, and formitest him like thine own face, and with thy precious blood him bought in this world thou give him space. All thy benefits he set at naught, but took him to the devil's trace. The flesh, the world, was most in his thought, and purpose to please him in every place. So grimly on ground, I pray thee, Lord lovely, of man have no mercy, but, dear Lord, let him lie, in hell let him be bound. Man hath forsake the King of heaven and his good angels' governance, and soiled his soul with sin 7 by his bad angels' cumbrance. Virtues he put full even away, when covetous gain him avarice. He wend that he should levied a, till death tripped him on his dance. He lost his wits 5, over late he called confession, Over light was his contrition. He made never satisfaction. Damn him to hell believe, for if thou take man's soul to thee against thy right wiseness, thou dost wrong, Lord, to truth and me, and puts us fro our dueness. Lord, let us never fro thee flee, ne'er strain us never in stress. But let thy doom be by us three, mankind in hell to press. Lord, I thee beseech, for right wiseness dwells ever sure to deem man after his deserviture, for to be damned it is his On man I cry, wretch. Letabitur justus come viderit vindictam.
Mercy, my sister rightwiseness. Though scape mankind no shond, leave, sister, let be thy dress. To save man, let us fond. For if man be damned to hell darkness, then might I wring in mine hand that ever my state should be less, my freedom to make bond. Mankind is of our kin, for I, Mercy, pass all thing that God made at the beginning, and I am his daughter young. Dear sister, let be thy din. Et misericordia eus super omnia opera eus. Of mankind ask thou never wretch, by day nor by night, for God himself hath been his leech of his merciful might. To me he gan him beteach, beside all his right. For him will I pray and preach, to get him free respite, and my sister peace. For his mercy is without beginning, and shall be without an ending. As David saith, that worthy king, in scripture is no less, et misericordia eus a progeniae and progenies, etc.
Mercy, is mankind none worthy? David, though thou record and read, for he would never the hungry neither clothe nor feed, ne'er drink give to the thirsty, nein poor men help at need. For he did none of these. Fourthly, in heaven he getteth no meed. So saith the gospel. For he hath been unkind to lame and to blind. In hell he shall be pined. So is reason and skill.
And there we'll pause before we get to peace stepping in. We've had three statements there from the various daughters here. We've got one more to go. We've had a bit of a back chat now going on. So we had three, quite formal statements. We got Truth saying, damn him. Mercy saying, no, maybe not. And Justice going, yeah, justice. Sort of a very Judge Dredd. Hell all the way. And Mercy tries to say, no, come on, give him a break. And Truth isn't having any of it. Absolutely none of it. I'll go to Lynn, then to Rachael.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm really liking this. I'm not a huge fan of morality plays because they all end the same way, but this passage I feel like has genuine dramatic tension. I really kind of don't know whether man is going to be damned or saved, and the stakes are so high. And everybody's right. Mercy is like Christ died for humanity's sins. That's the bargain. And one drop of his blood it compensates for a whole world of sins. And Justice and Truth are saying, but he did wrong. He broke the commandments. He violated Christ's injunctions in the Gospels by not being charitable. He did wrong. He sinned. The wages of sin is death. But mercy, but justice, but mercy, I'm liking it.
And it's doing a very different job of work that the rest of the play is doing. But we do have other examples of similar things or hints at examples. So The Pride of Life, which is an earlier play, which only the first half or so survives, that we know from the prologue that there is this question of will his soul go to heaven? And actually the prologue isn't entirely clear. as to whether it's a done deal or not. There is an intercession from the Virgin Mary, but there's no necessary guarantee. And that whether that's going to land, and there are other sort of semi-debate quality plays on these theological issues that do sort of we have bits and pieces of. So it looks like this is a thing, and the fact that we talk about morality plays and a modern morality play, you have that debate quality to it. They don't hand you here is the moral on a plate necessarily, or good one doesn't. And what is quite nice here is that actually we can engage in this question. And it gives you a bit more room rather than just here is a sermon on a plate. Please eat it whole. Rachael, then I think Francis and others possibly as well.
I know it's mankind on trial here, but I also feel like in this court of heaven that we're in, the beginning of it, when God comes in, kind of does remind me of when we were doing King Lear, and there's the sisters. I don't know. There's that this is like the politics of heaven too, because like yesterday when we were doing like the York cycle and we had like Lucifer and them falling, I feel like there's some idea that maybe you could play that there's still some tension in heaven and there is a divide on mankind, and maybe that there's some that by letting even the wicked come to heaven, that you're stepping on the toes of truth and justice and their little fiefdom of what they said they were going to get, and maybe there's that tension there, and so you don't know what you're going to get because of just the politics of heaven. And maybe it's like that little, maybe it's familiar to the audience at this time from like some of the other stuff that you guys have told me from the other plays that we've done, that there was a lot of I don't know, corruption in the system, political system at this time. So it would seem familiar to them and be like a parallel. Their heaven would be a parallel to their everyday lives.
I mean, there's a really interesting question about, are the various angels, cherubim and seraphim, actually really keen on the whole humanity project? Can we just go back to angels? Because, we know where we are with them, because, the ones we don't like, we burn them, and that's fine. So, yeah, I quite like that. But maybe it might be going a bit far but for the period, but I quite like it as an idea. Francis?
Yeah, I know this last section is a trial, and so it has this legal framework. But to me, it's more like a CEO taking advice from his senior management team. And if you were staging this for a modern audience, I think that's possibly how you could present it.
Well, it's interesting. We have this fragmentary text, Processor Satan, which we've done on the podcast, or at least a version on the podcast, where after the harrowing of hell, Satan basically tries to sue God for stealing mankind from him. So it's a similar situation to this, to a degree, about who gets mankind's soul. So it does seem to be something that has currency as an interesting debate point that people like playing with, and maybe that it's a hardy perennial that we just don't actually have that many examples of. Alan?
I have a feeling we come across some very similar material in the Parliament of Heaven, which I think we did as one of the End Town sequence.
Also the Parliament of Hell, which
I don't remember.
Yeah, so you have these discussions amongst various higher beings about what are you going to do with the humans? How are we going to get their souls, or how do we save their souls, and how far can we intercede? There seems to be rules about how much angels and demons are allowed to do. Eric?
I was going to mention something else, but then you started talking about how, the debate, and I was just going to, I was going to mention Fulgens and Lucrece, where it is very debate formatty in that way. But your comment about fighting over man's soul made me think of Spanish Train by Krista Berg, where basically God and the devil play at various things like chess, poker, and all those things.
Yeah, Fulgens and Lucrece, I was going to say, is much later, but it's which it is. But it's but the yeah, that sense of continuity as well as discontinuity, and they're very different plays, but yeah, the similar games can be in play. Okay, let's conclude this. So we've had a bit of back chat as Mercy tries to step in and get another go crack of the whip, and Truth isn't having any of that, and it leaves Peace to have the last word before God sums up and makes his judgment. I don't know what God's thinking so far. Have you been swayed yet either way, God?
I think I know how this is going to end.
Do you? Well,
Yeah.
it's up to you. It's up to you. You are God in this particular instance. But anyway, we'll go to Peace and see what Peace has to say. Peace is wearing black, so it's not looking good.
Peaceable King in majesty, I, Peace thy daughter, ask thee a boon of man. Howso it be, Lord, grant me my asking soon, that I may evermore dwell with thee, as I have ever done, and yet me never fro thee flee, especially at thy dome of man, thy creature, thou, my sister, right and truth, of mankind have none ruth, mercy and I full sore us meweth, to catch him to our cure. For when thou madest earth and heaven, 10 orders of angels to be in bliss, Lucifer, lighter than the living, till when he sinned, he fairly wis. To restore that place full even, thou madest mankind with this, to fill that place that I did neven. If thy will be reason it is, peace and rest among thine angels bright, to worship thee in sith, grant, Lord God Almighty, and so I hold it best. But thou, Truth, that is my sister dear, argueth that man should dwell in woe, and right wiseness with her power would fain and fast that it were so. But mercy and I, Peace, both in fear, shall never in faith accord thereto. Then should we ever discord here, and stand at bait for friend or foe, and ever at a distance. Therefore my counsel is, let us for sisters kiss, and restore man to bliss, as was God's ordinance. I think that Latin is a stage direction.
No, I think that's God's ordinance that he's quoting.
Sorry. Misericordia et veritas ovirent sibi, Justicia et pax osculate sunt. For if ye, right and truth, should have your will, I, peace and mercy, should ever have traversed. Then between us had been a great peril, that our joys in heaven should have been least. Therefore, gentle sisters, consenteth me till, else between ourselves should never be rest. Where should love and charity, let there come none ill. Look, our joys be perfect, and that I hold the best. In heaven erich bliss, for there is peace without and wear, there is rest without and fear, there is charity without and dear, our Father's will so is. Hic pat, his bonitas, hic laus, hic semper honestus. Therefore, gentle sisters, as on word, truth, right, and mercy hend. Let us stand at one accord, at peace without an end. Let love and charity be at our board, all vengeance away wend, to heaven that man may be restored. Let us all be his friend. Before our Father's face, we shall devoutly pray, a dreadful doomsday, and I shall for us say, that mankind shall have grace. Et tuum Deus, deposissimus pretatum e ut triberi dignens lucidus quietus mansiones. Lord, for thy pity and that peace, thou sufferest in thy passion, bounden and beaten without lease. Throw the foot to the crown, tanquam obis ducus est. When gut sanguis ran adown, yet the Jews would not cease, but on thine head they thrust a crown, and on the cross thee nailed. As piteously as thou were pined, have mercy of mankind, so that he may find our prayer may him avail.
And God says on the throne, which is the first couple of words in Latin there, God says,
Sedens in trono, ego cogito, cogitationes pacis non afflictionis. Fair fall thee, peace, my daughter dear, on thee I think, and on mercy. Sin ye accorded, beeth all in fair. My judgment I will give you by, not after deserving to you redare, to damn mankind to tormentry, but bring him to my bliss full clear, in heaven to dwell endlessly. At your prayer forthee, to make my bliss perfect, I main with my most might, all peace, some truth, and some right, and most of my mercy. Misericordia Domini plena est terra. Amen.
And God turns to his daughters.
My daughter's hand, lovely and lustful to lend, go to yon fiend, and from him take mankind. Bring him to me, and set him here by my knee, in heaven to be, in bliss with gammon and glee.
We shall fulfill thine hests as reason and skill from yon ghost grill mankind to bring thee till.
And they will ascend to where the bad angel is, and then peace will say,
Ah, thou foolish wight, let go that soul so tight. In heaven light, mankind soon shall be pight.
Go thou to hell, thou devil bold as a bell, therein to dwell, in bras and brimstone to well.
And then they ascend to the throne.
Oh, hear, mankind, lighter than life is unlind, that hath been pined. Thy mercy, Lord, let him find.
Sedens in judicio, sicut scintilla in medio maris. My mercy, mankind, give I thee. Come sit at my right hand. Full well have I loved thee. Unkind though I thee fand, as a spark of fire in the sea, my mercy is sin quenchant. Thou hast cause to love me above an all thing in land, and keep my commandment. If thou me love and dread, heaven shall be thy meed. My face thee shall feed. This is mine judgment. Ego oxidam et vivicabo persuasiam et sanabo, et nemo esqui de manu mea possit eruere. King, Kaiser, knight and champion, pope, patriarch, priest, and prelate in peace. Duke doubtiest indeed, by dale and by down, little and mickle, the more and the less, all the states of the world is at mine renown. To me shall they give a compt at my digne des. When Michael his horn bloweth at my dread doom, the count of their conscience shall put in him impress, and yield a reckoning of their space, how they han spent, and of their true talent at my great judgment, an answer shall me bring. Ecce requiram gregum meum de manu pastoris, and I shall inquire of my flock and of their pasture, how they have lived and led their people so jet. The good on the right side shall stand full sure, the bad on the left side, there shall I set. The 7 deeds of mercy, whoso had to fill the hungry for to give meat, or drink to thirsty, the naked vesture, the poor or the pilgrim home for to fet, thy neighbour that hath need, whoso doth mercy to his might, to thee seek, or imprison pite, he doth to me, I shall him quite. Heaven bliss shall be his meed, and they that well do in this world, their wealth shall awake. In heaven they shall be hained in bounty and bliss, and they that evil do, they shall to heaven lake, or to hell lake, in bitter bales to be brent. My judgment it is. My virtues in heaven, then shall they quake. There is no width in this world that they may scape this. All men example here at may take, to maintain the good and menden her miss. Thus endeth our games, to save you from sinning, ever at the beginning. Think on your last ending. Te Deum laudamus.
And thus it ends. So yes, this our games are ended, and we should be thinking of drama from this period as a game, having a ludic quality. But yeah, those last 4 lines, summing it up for anyone who wasn't paying attention. To save you from sinning, think on your last ending. That's always think ahead. Think ahead. God sides on all peace, only some truth and some right, but mostly mercy. Mostly mercy. So peace and mercy carry it, even though technically it was a draw. It was a draw. That's the problem with only 4 appellants. That's sort of the problem of this structure of this particular thing. I suppose God's the 5th person, isn't it?
He has the casting vote.
Yeah. Rachael.
I was gonna say, like, you know how, like, this, like tales like Heracles or something, that they're supposed to create an ideal for, like, socially. I feel like there's some parallels between this scene and then the scene between humankind and his, like, I don't know, grandchild, son, whatever it was, just random person on the street who is going to inherit the earth, is that there's some, God and his daughters, they listen to him and they're well behaved, and there's something to that even in the end justice yields to her father, and that there's some that social relationship, that social ideal in that children should listen to their parents, and something like that. And then in the other one, you kind of have mankind's kid who's rowdy and, full of sin. I don't know.
Alan?
I'm just thinking, actually, those last 5 lines from the thus endeth our games might actually work if Anima actually gave that speech rather than Deus. Would seem to fit better.
Yes, Animus doesn't say anything, having been released from hell.
But
nobody says anything actually from this sequence onwards. It's like all the earlier actors they're already in the beer tent, aren't they? It's like we'll wheel them on later, but don't expect them to say any words. That'd be awful. Yeah,
I thought they were all in the castle.
Yeah.
But it's just the mood change and the verse style change of those very last few lines would seem to make sense for them to be someone other than Deus speaking.
Lois.
Yeah, I mean, as to that, I don't know. There's a sort of funny sort of tradition of the highest ranking person speaking the epilogue. And if this was already happening, then I guess that's the highest ranking person. But I was thinking that presumably all through this, the evil angel is holding man's soul, isn't he? Because they go to the 4 daughters of God go to where he is and take him from the evil angel. So this could be really quite a suspenseful moment. I mean, I don't know if there's a hell mouth, for example, on the stage. And
well, Satan has got a scaffold at the north, so that might be where it is. They do say go up, which seems odd for me for hell, but we don't have to be literal, I suppose.
Yeah. But there ought to be some sense that while they're arguing, something terrible is about to happen. I mean, the soul is going to be dropped into, some horrible place.
I keep thinking of the other potential visual things. I mean, I'm really stuck on Garcio from earlier. I just quite like the idea that maybe there are 4 booths underneath all of these stages, and that there's a young person walks around. When they get to the next booth, they go in, and then a next person dressed like them but slightly older starts walking around. They go to the next one, it gets slightly older, and you just have this perpetual machine of people, getting older, and then they die, and someone young steals all their stuff, and it's just that there's potential here for all sorts. I know that's entirely extra textual, but it just sort of came to me as when we're talking about that character and that. And while all these things are going on, are there other things visually going on all the time? Because in theory, they've travelled a reasonably long distance to get from where God is and where hell is, or where Satan's scaffold is, and how that process works. Because they only get 4 lines. We'll go to mankind. They go to we'll get mankind out of hell. They tell the demon to go back to hell, and then they come back again, and it's an 8-line span of that, and there's no other dialogue. Rachael, I think. Other thoughts? We are into extra time, so I won't formally go around the room for final thoughts. I'll sort of pick you out one by one as you wave at me. So I'll go to Rachael first, and then I'll go to Briony.
No, I was just going to say, if the angel... never mind. Somebody else go. There's not a lot of time.
There's plenty of time. We've got a good 15 minutes. Briony.
I think my biggest problem with these plays of this nature, of this like moralistic nature, is that, so we know from the very start of this that the whole idea is going to be that, the moral is going to be that you need to be good so that you can go to heaven. We knew that from page 1. And it's a work of fiction. So why can't they write the goodies to have a bit more bloody pizzazz ever? I know it's harder, but it's a work of fiction, and if that is the message that you really want to convey, I just think they could convey it, and they never do.
Yeah, convincing portrayals of heaven are few and far between as well. It is that thing. They're very good at describing how horrible hell is. It's all stick and it's no carrot, isn't it? Sarah?
I think Lois made a really good point about this. I think it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, I can't remember, but about how the virtues need to be portrayed in a really beautiful way. Because I totally agree with Briony, like in terms of the what they're given to say, it's not as compelling. But I think there's perhaps, because this is such a spectacle, I think there's a lot that can be done with costume and perhaps music to create an entirely different atmosphere. Because the thing is, when you just see it cold on the page, they just come across as very virtuous and noble and quite flat. But I think if you were to add that text, to a group of extraordinarily beautiful looking people, with kind of amazing costume and music accompanying them and beautiful physical theatre, so that their movements are all like really like spellbinding. I think you could make them quite entrancing. And honestly, I think that's the way to go, because they don't hold up on the page. They don't hold up to the vices. So you've got to do something else with them completely.
I just want to push back on that slightly. In this last sequence, okay, they're not necessarily they're all good people, but they're personifications of different concepts. And I'm really interested in the way the justice and truth, etc., and peace argue with each other. And I think there's an intent thing that with a second look makes this bit. I know they're making long speeches, but the passion with which Mercy is begging these people to change their mind, and also the hardness of truth and justice. That there's something there, and I think that may also apply to the virtues earlier on, of how they function. Is that maybe because we've been told they're good people, and so we play them very good, that actually we're also loading onto them things that we're maybe dragging the text down rather than we're being dragged down by the text. I don't know if that is the case. Additional work might be there, but we might be being unfair on the virtues slightly. I put that out there as a thought. Francis, I think I saw. Elizabeth, then Alan.
Like Lynn, I found that last section very interesting because it was a bit nail-biting. But I also found it interesting because it tallies with my Catholic upbringing. I mean, I was taught that even if you lived a sinful life, as long as you cried, "I'm sorry," on your deathbed, assuming you got the chance, you would go to heaven. So, which is kind of how I knew how it was going to end.
Yeah, but you can't guarantee, as you just said, you can't guarantee.
I wasn't 100% sure, maybe 85% sure.
Yes, it's this thing of how do you make bulletproof your own salvation? Elizabeth, then Alan, then Lynn, then Rachael, then Eric. So many people. I'll forget that order in a moment. Elizabeth.
It's just a quick one. People were saying earlier the things that the play reminded them of. And for me, it was like an Aaron Sorkin courtroom drama. You know, I didn't, unlike Francis, I didn't know how it was going to end. Because I've seen some of our plays, I've seen people just get dragged to hell. The devil comes on stage and just carries them off and throws them into hell. So I was there thinking that right up and towards the very end, it kept me on tenterhooks. And I liked the virtues as well. I think there is a sharp contrast between the virtues and the vices. And I understand Briony's perspective. I understand what she was saying about them, about how they kind of lack some oomph. But I quite like the way they were written. I think that they are gentler characters, and that their purpose is different to the vices. And I think the vices are always just more sexier and cooler than the virtues. I think it's very difficult to make virtues cool. Yeah, that was my final thought.
Yeah, it's very hard to, as so much Christian rock has taught us. It's very hard to make virtuousness cool. Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I must admit, one thing that struck me is that, with one exception, the vices are all male, the virtues are all female, and then the four advocates in the final sequence are all female. Now, I don't know whether this is an answerable question or not, but whether I know that when we're looking at the normal repertoire, we're looking at from 100 years, 150 years after this. The assumption is always that these are for exclusively male companies. Whether that's still applied back at the point when this was being done.
It's a really good question, and I don't think we can necessarily be absolute on that point. We because of the local conditions by which things are performed, it's not impossible that the genders are accurate to the performers. But I skirting on very thin ice on that particular point. There is very no direct evidence outside of nunneries and things for that kind of performance. But just putting out there that it's not necessarily impossible. Lynn.
Yeah, changing the subject a little, although everything people have said is like so interesting. This ending is very intriguing, and I'm not sure where to have it, because when they put the question to the ultimate judge, God, he says, I'm going to side with mercy, bring me mankind. But he doesn't justify that. He doesn't give you a rationale for that. He doesn't say because anything. He just says, my judgment is that mankind will come to bliss. But then in his final speech, he goes back to the parable that we see in like all the synoptic gospels about if I was hungry and you fed me, and I was thirsty and you gave me drink, because whatsoever you do to the least of these, my brothers, you do for me. So he's invoking that passage in the Gospels, which truth specifically said mankind failed to do in his lifetime. So it doesn't really seem to all jibe, but I think maybe I kind of like that unresolvedness, because it leaves the audience thinking, I don't really know. I don't know if I can sin and get away with it, because God just said I couldn't. But mankind kind of did sin and get away with it. Maybe I better be good. It's kind of like it's saying there is something going on here that we don't understand, and the best you can do is live the right life.
And mankind goes or is dragged off to hell. I mean, I don't know whether the demon actually literally pulled him over their shoulders, or the bad angel rather. But he's presumably having a pretty horrible time while this court case is going on. I'm wondering whether there's a sort of purgatory angle here, and that's where the ambiguities all get sorted out with the concept of purgatory, which still has currency at the time of this play, though it doesn't seem to get a direct name check. So it will be interesting.
There is one.
Is there? Oh, did I miss it? Because that's the question, if they just put the soul of man into purgatory, just so, hang on, we'll sort this case out now, that would be a slightly different process, and that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that is what is happening.
Because it's the bad angel who drags him away.
Yeah.
So that's not the impression you get. You can get the impression he's dragged to hell until they change their mind.
Yeah, justice says, "Go thou to hell."
Yeah.
And get man's soul, get Anima back for me, get mankind back for me. So yeah, it's interestingly constructed. They do name check purgatory at one point, but it doesn't sound like that's where mankind is. It's like he went to hell, and justice and truth say, let him stay there, and mercy and peace say, oh, let's get him out.
Well, it's nice to know there's an appeal process for hell. I hadn't heard of that. That coming through. So that's cool. Anyway, we've got a few more thoughts to go before we close in a moment. Rachael, then Eric.
No, this text, kind of what Ellen was saying, like how the virtues are, portrayed as women, and then the last sequence here, we have all these people as women, and then lust is a woman. I feel like that says something about their idea of the time of what a woman should or shouldn't be, or how she should and shouldn't act, and it's just interesting, these portrayals, all the things that could bring up for people, and then just how interesting the last scene was, and that scene with all the sins.
Eric.
I was going to make the point that basically here, like, as opposed to Mundus et Infans, where we get the whole, like, we have an elaborate sort of repentance speech scene. We get sort of like, they tried to sort of set it up so basically that mankind invokes pity, mercy, with one word. Literally the last word he says is mercy, then dies, then Anima takes over, and then the mercy goes, oh yeah, I heard some, I think I heard my name, maybe, and which is interesting, because it's not mankind begging for his soul. It's like to be, it's not mankind repenting as such, although it is in a way, but it's mercy begging for them to forgive what mankind has done, which seems sort of, yeah, and it's set up as an example to avoid, but like also an example to, it's not clear cut, basically. Yeah.
Lois.
I think there's a lot of importance in the actual word, being able to speak it. I mean, I think, didn't you read it? I think it's enough is as good as a feast. Did you read that one?
Yeah.
Where the man is trying to make his will, and when he gets to in the name of God, he can't say the word God, and he dies, and he goes off to hell, presumably precisely because he couldn't say it. And in Nash's The Unfortunate Traveler, there's a horrible vengeance plot where somebody gets his enemy. I think he's got a gun pointed at him, and he tells him, blaspheme God in every way you possibly can. And the man does, and then he shoots him in the throat so that he can't take any of it back. I mean, it's an extraordinary kind of belief in the power of words.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned As Good as a Feast, because yes, that's that was very much in my mind, that question of that final get that word, the last word out. Or terrible things happen, and that sets up exactly the same theme in a very later and very different way, and hopefully we'll actually be doing a second look at that relatively soon. Alan, very briefly, because I need to close the session.
Very quick question. I'm just trying to work out. I've a feeling that this is almost on top date-wise of Dante, Divine Comedy.
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Sorry, you were asking about the dates?
Yeah,
they're very similar, actually.
Yeah, it's very much of the same.
Well, the Divine Comedy is 1400, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was closer to 1300.
1300? You may be right. Yeah, I just know it's on the. Yeah, I just think of the zeros. I'm very bad on numbers, so you could well.
I think it's pre-plague.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Wikipedia says 1320.
Oh, right.
So
it's earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, we will close this session on Castle of Perseverance. Thanks to all the wonderful readers for all their thoughts over this session. One day we will return, but till then, goodbye.
Bye.